This is like an emergency webinar today. I want to introduce everybody to Larry Jacobson.
Everybody knows someone, a grandparent, a neighbor, a parent, whatever it might be. Everybody knows someone who's needed some type of care in their own home, assisted living, adult daycare, skilled care facility, whatever it might be.
Why do you think it's important to start thinking about long-term care today, even if you're extremely healthy?
Statistics say that about 70%, of people over the age of 65 will have some need for long-term care. Just means that you might need some help at home. Maybe it's a little bit more significant. I look at it as what's the consequence of not planning and thinking about it and creating a plan for yourself, for your family. And the consequences are everything that you've spent a lifetime accumulating that you work for, everything is then at risk. The other perspective is what I'll say is the emotional perspective. Who is going to provide care for you? Is that a spouse? And is there a burden that is placed on the spouse? What's the impact to the healthy spouse if somebody needs some type of care? What's the impact on adult children who may have their own kids? It really is a family scenario. If you're not planning for this when you are healthy, it becomes too late by the time you need it.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've seen that people have about long-term care?
Sure. So let me separate long-term care and long-term care insurance. And so the misconceptions are that I'm going to go into a nursing home to die. And that actually couldn't be further from the truth. Most people do not, and I say most, literally 95% do not need skilled care. But again, assistance at home, adult daycare, assisted living, etc. So from a long-term care insurance perspective, the first misconception is it's expensive and it sucks. And that's the professional term. It doesn't cover anything. And not to be glib, but anytime I hear, okay, it's expensive, it is. It requires some outlay, but it's a lot less of an outlay than the actual problem. The average cost of a skilled care facility might be close to $11,000 per month. For home health care, it might be $3,000 to $5,000 per month. There isn't a policy or a strategy that you could create that would end up costing anywhere near that. You're going to pay pennies on the dollar for the benefit that you receive. So that misconception that it's expensive and doesn't do anything is absolutely false. We see it on a regular basis, and it is a massive, massive part of one's overall financial plan.
People worry, I'm paying all of this money into this insurance policy. What happens if I don't ever get sick? What are your thoughts on that perspective?
That's a very valid concern. And with what I'll call and what you brought up are traditional standalone long-term care policies. The two biggest disadvantages to those are you could pay a lifetime of premiums and never need the coverage. So those policies function just like your car insurance or your homeowner's insurance. The other disadvantage is that there isn't a company out there that manufactures those types of policies that will guarantee that they'll keep the premium level. And in fact, every single company that has manufactured and sold those policies has increased the rates on their policyholders. Those policies aren't really the predominant way that people are implementing long-term care strategies and protection these days.
A lot of people would say, we don't need it. We have Medicaid and we have Medicare to cover us. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Medicare and Medicaid provide for the one thing that I said 95% of people who need care don't need, meaning skilled care. But depending on the government is generally not the best solution. Medicare will pay for skilled care. It'll pay for that care for 20 days. And then for the next 80, you share in that cost. After the 100th day of needing care, Medicare stops. And Medicaid, basically the same thing, but you have to be essentially indigent to qualify for Medicaid as far as long-term care. There are strategies out there, again, if you are proactive and planning for that, but that's got to be before you need the care.
What would be your recommendation for people to really start to think about this?
There literally is not a week that goes by that I don't get a call about long-term care planning. To answer your question, what we see, you're still in that sandwich generation, 55 to 65 of you may have elderly parents and you have kids, and that's when it hits home.
What's a good first step for people to make when they start thinking about this issue?
A wise first step is to have the conversation within your family, tough conversation to have, and certainly connecting with an advisor who is an expert in this type of planning with long term care, who can help facilitate that conversation, makes all the sense in the world. They can provide context, information, data, support, ways to have that family conversation. That's a great first step.
Larry, thank you very much. Appreciate your
My
time
pleasure.
today.